Who knew Mikey was into astrology? Here's your look at the brand new Trick or Treat Studios Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers 1/6 scale figure. Trick or Treat Studios and Miramax Films are proud to present the official Halloween Curse of Michael Myers 12-inch tall figure. The figure is fully clothed in screen-accurate costume with working zipper, and to round the package out, the figure comes in a beautiful collector's box with flip-back window display. While Michael is out leaving his mark, I'd like to thank the folks over at Trick or Treat Studios, who did provide this sample of the new Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, that we could have a look at in this review. I'm going to provide the link down below in the video description should you guys be interested to get this one for yourself. Michael Myers from Halloween 6 happens to be one of my favorite designs of the character, and I'm super thrilled that we finally got a 6-scale release of him. We're also going to bring a couple of comparison figures in for a second, but also before we do that, let's grab the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. Right to the very top of the head I go. Michael Myers from Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, stands in fact 12 inches in height, or the figure's a little over 30 centimeters tall. By the time that you guys are watching this review, I'm sure many of you have already heard the sad news, the passing of George P. Wilbur. George P. Wilbur was the stuntman actor responsible for portraying Michael Myers in Halloween 6, The Michael Myers, before eventually being replaced by A. Michael Lerner. He also did portray Michael Myers in my favorite of the Halloween movies, in Halloween 4. Of course, the costume and boilers they would have wore was completely different than what he would eventually wear in Halloween 6. This would have been the start right here of the Jamie Lloyd trilogy, and then booked in on the other side of Halloween 6 Michael Myers was one played by Donald Shanks in Halloween 5. When you are comparing the figures, it does look like, of course, when you incorporate the mask here, that Michael Myers from Halloween 6 seems bigger than the one from Halloween 5, seems about the same size as the one from Halloween 4, and does seem stockier, even though most of it, I'm sure, is probably just the coveralls that he's wearing. And because I'm sure you guys would be asking what the comparison would look like, I'm also going to slide over the one that we're about to have a look at from Trick or Treat Studios. I'm going to compare it along with the one that we got from 3-0. Now, I have to be honest that I do think the one from 3-0 initially I did really like, but I think it has aged over time. Not only was the mask very much different than what it really did look like in the film, but this one also did have rooted hair. It did have more stained coveralls, yes, dirtier looking boots, sure, and more scarred looking hands, of course. But I do think, though, I think the one that was handled here by Trick or Treat Studios is the superior of the two. Moving our way over to the accessory end of things, the figure comes included with a jack-o'-lantern, comes included with a butcher knife, comes included with an axe, and comes included with a series of interchangeable hands. As we rewind that back to what I started to talk about, let's first have a look at the jack-o'-lantern. The jack-o'-lantern is the one that we see in the movie. I believe it's the one at the very end of the movie as it gets blown out. I love the sculpting of this one. It's made of a more softer plastic. You may be able to see it by just the way I'm able to squeeze the tops and bottoms of the jack-o'-lantern's teeth, but I love the sculpting of this one. The color is really quite good on this one as well, making use of not only lighter but darker oranges as well. And as we spin this around, you may already notice that there's a battery compartment and there's also a switch. The batteries are luckily already installed into the jack-o'-lantern, so just short of actually pulling the restriction tab that's on the side of this, you can go ahead and switch the button on and have the jack-o'-lantern illuminate. The only thing I would have probably have said is if they had only made the light source a little higher, because the way you're looking at it, you're looking at straight through, and it glows right around the center section of the nose. If they had moved it up just a little bit further, then you wouldn't see as much of the light bulb, but you would still have the illumination inside. As it would be the case with a normal candle, you can see it does flicker. Gives you a very realistic look of what a jack-o'-lantern would be, and it's really easy to, again, turn off. We're going to go and just press the button here on the back. Love the idea that they included it. The earlier Michael Myers that we did get from Tots didn't come included with anything like this, so I'm glad to see that they are starting to add additional accessories to these figures. And move that to the side. The figure also comes included with a butcher knife. Now, this is one thing I did want to commend Trick or Treat Studios for doing. If anyone had the chance to pick up the original 78 Michael Myers, you'll notice that one of the problems with the earlier Michael Myers was that the knife was very brittle. Not that I would really recommend that you guys be bending a knife back and forth like this, but it's also more just to indicate that you can actually have a flexible knife in this case, one that's not going to be breaking at the blade. Something also that they have improved upon as well is that the hands themselves not only are sculpted really well, but they're also using a softer plastic too. So you won't have to have the worry of forcing a knife into his hand and potentially breaking off the blade. I have unfortunately had a 78 Michael Myers with the blade be broken. Luckily, I did get a second one because I wanted to pair it with along with the accessory pack, but the original knife did snap off. It snapped right there for me. Not only with the knife being now softer plastic, the hands are also softer plastic, so it makes things a lot easier to get the knife into his hand. Now, again, you can either have the knife this way. Some people may prefer to have the blade go down, but either way, you can actually have Michael Myers holding the knife without having to fuss and muss trying to get the blade into his hands. Move that to the side. The figure also comes included with a gripping hand, or I guess more mauling hands than anything else. The color work of what they've just done to the nails alone, you can see is a different color, a little more dirtier and grimier than the rest of the hands. The hands, though, do inherit still the scarring that he would have gotten at the end of Halloween 2, carried over again to Halloween 4, then also over to Halloween 5. The scarring is nice. I suppose they probably could have added a little bit more of a darker red to it just to make some of that scarring stand out, but it does look really good on the hands. The hands are actually pretty easy to swap out too. We can go ahead then and take the hands, slide up the sleeve, and in just case you're curious, there is no mark of the thorn on the inside. There's nothing on his arms, unfortunately, at all. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and remove the hand, and again, from there you can go ahead. You know what? I'm going to remove the hand over here. I've decided to change course a bit. Pop the hand off, find the suitable hand with the thumbsies going in, pop that back into place. So that's one hand, and then literally then on the other hand, I'm going to take then the one I used for the knife, just draw back out the knife, put that to the side. I did want to use this hand because the figure also comes included with the axe. It's so funny that this axe is only really used in one part of the movie, where of course he's killing the mother out when she's hiding behind the laundry. He hacks her with only just this axe, and yet the scene stands out so much for me that I'm likely going to be displaying the figure with the axe. You can see the way they've added some additional wash to the head of the axe. It's not sharp, although I'm sure if you ran your finger across it, it does have a bit of a bird edge to it. Nothing you're going to be drawing blood, though. You can see as well they've added a little bit of a wood grain to it, but this is the accessory I'm going to be displaying with the figure. Kind of like in the same way that if we had gotten a shotgun with Halloween 4 Michael Myers, I would have displayed him with a shotgun. And yet, ironically enough, in both the cases of the axe and the shotgun, it only happens in one scene in the movie. To take this does fit again into his hand. Just pry the plastic a little further away from the palm, fit that all the way down. Then we can go ahead then and attach this onto his forearm. If anything I could say is I think in the movie the axe is a little bit smaller than he's wielding in his hand. It's actually somewhat more of a hatchet, but it does look good though in his hand. And it's going to be definitely the way I'm going to be displaying the figure. So those are all the accessories that come along with Michael Myers. We're going to then put those all to the side and get a closer look then at the figure. Put that to the side. Picking the figure up right now, getting a closer look at, first of all, at the head sculpt. Now, again, to go back and talk about the one that we got from 3-0 years ago when we had a look at that figure, I really did like that Michael Myers, but I do think that they did take some inspirational cues, not necessarily following the format of what Michael Myers really would look like in the movie. I think this one definitely does capture a better likeness to Michael Myers, as we certainly spin this back and forth so you guys can see all the uncanny sculpting that they actually managed to put in there. The thing I really like about Michael Myers' mask in Halloween 6, and it's probably one of the reasons why I put that so high on my list of all-time favorite masks, is just the way that the mask has an eerie look to it, an unsettling easiness about it that sort of looks like it's been made out of paper mache. This Michael Myers has a notable feature of having larger ears as well, but there's almost a clamminess when we look at the helmet or mask that he actually wears. Now, the mask itself, I think, again, nicely is colored here by Trick or Treat Studios. You can see as well that they've gone in and added some darker shadowing to accent features, like for his cheekbones, for example. And he's also got sort of like you can see like little horns almost, the way that they've sculpted and painted around the contoured areas of the mask. It sort of has an imperfection to it as well, which is probably one of the things I really like so much about the mask as well. Now, again, the only thing I would probably have said, too, is under these lit conditions, you don't see the eyes as much. If you were to have a direct lamplight shining on it, for example, you probably would be able to make out Michael Myers' eyes just a little bit easier. Now, I've seen some customizers obviously recess the eyes a little further back on the mask so it's a little harder to see the eyes. Michael Myers, you really don't see his eyes at all in the movie, unlike H2O. But I do like the way they look. The mask does look. I do like the way that the eyes are recessed back, but I would have probably gone in there and maybe washed those a little bit darker so you really wouldn't be able to see the eyes unless you looked up really close, kind of like what we're doing right now. Michael Myers also has one of the things about his hair is very messy. The hair itself, like cases before, is all here molded in plastic. It's not rooted hair. I think it gives you the most control when it comes to the sculpting of it. Rooted hair, as you probably already saw before when we looked at 3.0 release, is fine and good, but the hair always ends up looking super messy, which I guess it really should be, but I think it's much more controlled when you're actually able to sculpt it by plastic. The hair looks really good on this one. You sort of have like the little horns there that stick out the side of the hair. Probably could be a little bit messier than what we're getting right here, but overall it's just a great looking mask. Love it. As for his coveralls, now the coveralls Michael Myers wears in Halloween 6 even goes a lighter shade than the gray that he actually wears in Halloween 5. The actual material that they've used is one thing I really want to comment on here. The original 78 Michael Myers that we get from Trick or Treat Studios before had a really soft material. It did, unfortunately, kind of drape on his body and didn't give him a proper form. The material that they have now since switched to seems a little bit more of a thicker, more rigid material. It's to the point where when you're actually having it resting on the figure, it drapes the way it naturally should. And it does feel like it's a good weighted material that they've used. I've never really had any problems whatsoever with the coveralls themselves, more so the material that the material for the first 78 release, before we actually got the accessory pack, I thought again was too soft material. It just sort of hung on the figure. This hangs actually really quite nicely. He's got the zippers there on either side of his pocket. Of course, he's got the main zipper that runs down the side. Runs down the middle, and then underneath that, Michael Myers does have, in this case, for the Halloween 6 movie, a gray undershirt. And again, when it comes to the figure itself, I'd be more prone, I think, to have the collar popped. When you initially get the figure out of the packaging, granted, yes, his collar is down, but for me, Michael Myers should always really have a popped collar. Nice detailing overall done. The seam work, the stitching that they've done to the material itself looks fantastic. He does actually have real working pockets, too. Not that he'd be able to store anything in there, but yeah, there's a couple of working pockets that he does have. The build is actually pretty good on this figure also as well. It almost feels for a second when I'm feeling like the arms, for example, that it feels like it's a thicker body that they're using here for the Halloween 6. Now, depending on how you prefer your Michael Myers essentially is played by two actors. I think, in fact, there was even a third stuntman that came in for some second shoots. But initially, George P. Wilbur would have portrayed the role in most of the movie, and then abruptly, you can see there's definitely a physical change as a Michael Lerner steps in for the reshoots, or essentially what we get in more the theatrical director's cut. The producer's cut, again, of Michael Myers, you sort of, again, have like a frame of Michael Myers that does vary in the movie. Initially, I think the problem was when they saw George P. Wilbur, they thought he looked too stocky, so they wanted to give him more leaner, meaner looking build. I prefer myself George P. Wilbur. I just like the way he's a little more stockier of a Michael Myers. But this body, I think, does fit well to be a Wilbur body, not necessarily a Michael Lerner. I mean, again, if you really would want to, you could probably get yourself a second one of these, get yourself an even thinner body, and maybe find the way to actually have one on display on the shelf as an A. Michael Lerner Michael Myers, and then one as George P. Wilbur. But overall, again, I'm really happy with how the costuming turned out here. The material is really good quality feel that they have added to this as we slide this up. You can kind of see there's a slightly thinner body, though, underneath. Very nice looking boots, though, they've sculpted in there as well. Laces, though not real working laces, unlike the 3.0 release we got before. But again, overall, decent looking boots, even sculpting the tread on the undersides there. So looking at the figure's articulation, bear with me for a second as I just slide this back over his leg here. For the articulation here on Michael Myers, we're going to start again with his head sculpt. It's on a ball joint, so you can rotate the head all the way around. I did want to also draw your attention to the fact that there's the cut on the back of the mask. Of course, that would be the way he'd be able to remove it. Head does look down, looks up, and again, you can also rock it back and forth as well. The upper torso appears to be, once again, on a ball joint, so you can rock it up, down, hinge it also back and forth a little bit as well. The arms do come out, and again, I feel like the arms are a little bit bigger than what we got before with the earlier Michael Myers figures. You bring the arms forward, bring the arms back. Again, there's no bicep swivel that I can see, at least, but you can rotate at least the forearm. You can hinge the elbow. There only seems to be from what I can feel, maybe a single hinge. Yeah, it only seems to be a single hinge on the elbow, but the hands do rotate all the way around, whatever hands you decide to display him with. Legs, though, do split out, and once again, you got a swivel there at the top of the thigh. A little loose, but not too bad. A double hinge on the knee, and then again, you've got the articulation. Now, the articulation on the boot is going to be a little bit more restricted, simply just because it's encased in plastic. You can move it back and forth this way. You can move it up and down this way. It gives you enough mileage to get Michael in some decent looking poses. The figure in this case, while having all the accessories that he does have, unfortunately doesn't come included with a display stand. I don't really think he necessarily needs one. I think, in fact, Trick or Treat Studios are selling Halloween display stands over on their site. So again, if you didn't get the chance to get one for the earlier Michael Myers, haven't yet had one picked up for any of the Michael Myers that you have looked at or have picked up for your collection space, you can also pick them up over on their website as well. Again, for me, this was the figure really high on my list of ones I wanted to get from Trick or Treat Studios. When they first announced that they were picking up the franchise for Halloween, I thought, yes, we're going to be getting some really solid looking figures. And to be all honest, we have been getting some really solid Michael Myers figures over the short little while, really, when you consider how long Trick or Treat Studios have been making Michael Myers, how many we have gotten. We've almost gotten all of them in such a short amount of time span. The ones, though, it was really high on my list for ones I really wanted to see them eventually produce. First one was H2O Michael Myers, which, as far as I know, is released right now. And right under that was Curse of Michael Myers. One of my all-time favorite masks for Michael, and really uneasy, kind of clammy-looking mask that he wears in the movie, captured very nicely in a 6-scale format. Once again, you've got great-looking coveralls. The material that they use seems like a better quality than, say, like the 78 that we looked at before. The build of the body also seems like it's a little bit thicker. That might just be more my eyes playing tricks on me than anything else. But overall, I'm really, really happy with what we actually got here with the Michael Myers from Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Don't be waiting for a constellation to pop up in the sky to get your hands on a newest offering from Trick or Treat Studios. The Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers is available right now, over on Trick or Treat Studios' website for below that $200 price point. Granted, though, with this one, it's closer to $200 than we've gotten before. This one sits at $199.99. Comparing it to the original one that we got from the 78 release, the 78 was a lot closer to the 100 price point. But considering that the improvements that they have made are noticeable, and the fact that this guy's getting accessories that were never available before with the original 78, the fact that they're still offering any of these figures for below the $200 is still more enticing to anyone that's wanting to get into this collection space of collecting 6-scale Michael Myers, this one being one of the better ones that we've gotten. This one includes not only the jack-o'-lantern, but also the axe. And somewhat ironic again with the axe, I was going to say that it's funny with Michael Myers with Halloween 2, Halloween 6, and Halloween 4. Halloween 2, I was going to say the scalpel, but to be fair, Michael Myers is walking around a lot of times with a scalpel in his hands. But for me, if I only had gotten a shotgun for Halloween 4 Mikey, I probably would have been displaying him with the shotgun all the time. And same thing, also the rule applies here for the axe that comes included with Halloween 6 Michael Myers. It's only in one scene, technically, that this character is even wielding this weapon, and yet it stands out so much to me. First of all, I'm glad to see that they included an axe with Michael Myers, but it's going to be my go-to weapon when it comes to displaying this guy on the shelf. But what do you guys think of Halloween 6 Michael Myers? Is this one of the best figures we've gotten so far from Trick or Treat Studios? Let me know down below in the comments section. Speaking of which, I'd also like to thank the folks over at Trick or Treat Studios that did provide this sample of Michael Myers that we can have a look at in this review from Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. My go-to, one of my go-tos annually. If I only have a limited amount of time to go through a couple of Halloween movies, the ones that I always watch are Halloween 4, Halloween 3, Halloween 6. Not necessarily in that order. But again, what do you guys think of this figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Certainly, again, as well, if you guys are interested, click the link down below in the video description. That will take you on over to Trick or Treat Studios. Get this guy for yourself. Get as well the other Michael Myers that they have done already. And also get your hands on the upcoming Resurrection in H2O, which I think is starting to pop up shortly. Looking to get my hands on those also as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and do certainly want to stick around for more, then make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and that you're also turning on the bell notification. Popping up also, if you don't mind me shamelessly plugging a playlist at the very end of this video, will also be a playlist of other things I've done for Trick or Treat Studios in the past, with all future videos showing up in those playlists also as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.